Good evening. This is discussion board 2 for HIUS 512 with Liberty University. We are talking about revolutionary women of the American Revolution. Not sure that's what it's called, but I do like calling them revolutionary women. Women have always had certain roles. We've always been placed in boxes, and it's always been gender-based. But this was different this time. Women in the American Revolution decided to start bucking tradition and sought after more prominent, more in-your-face, non-traditional roles. This brings me to Mercy Otis Warren. Mercy Otis Warren is mostly known for being a historian during the Revolution. Jeffrey Richards wrote how Otis Warren understood the power of the written word and was a master at the art of letter writing. Otis Warren also exchanged letters with many notable men. She didn't just stick to writing to their wives. She wrote to the men. She wrote to John Adams. She wrote to Eldridge Gerry. And she also wrote to James Winthrop. And her writing was so powerful that she was really able to hold her own with these notable men. But like I said, she wrote to the men of the Revolution, but she also maintained steady contact with the women of the Revolution as well. She wrote Abigail Adams, and it is published some of her books and letters that she wrote between John and Abigail Adams. She also documented all the efforts of the war, and she was really quite outspoken about Governor of Massachusetts, Thomas Hutchinson. She did really write out about that. She was an anti-federalist. She didn't hold any punches. She pretty much said what she thought. In a book by Lester Cohen explaining the Revolution, it was mentioned that Otis Warren's writings presented the best interpretation of corruption in politics at this time. We know that a lot of people do write out about that, but she was able to put it in a well thought, in the right context, and it was very conceptual and very trailblazing for this time. Being so outspoken as a woman at this time was really unheard of. Women typically in the Revolution held different types of roles. They knitted socks, they made shirts, they cooked, they brought water, they supported their husbands, they loaded gunpowder. But to put things out in writing, to publish things the way that she did, was very much unheard of and very much a outspoken thing, and it was really unheard of. Jacqueline Renner summed it up best in A Woman's Dilemma, that she conceived the idea that she could and should have opinions, and that those ideas should intellectually sound worth expressing in speech and in writing. So she knew what her place was, and she felt that it was her duty, it was her responsibility to continue to speak out. Does this story continue to live on? It does. Does it live on in the fact that we hear about Otis Warren more frequently in class? No. How it lives on is if you turn on your TV, if you read an article in the paper, or you read something in a magazine, there's more women in this field. So it lives on through her legacy, not necessarily through what we hear about her, but her story does live on. If you look at our current state of journalists, like I said, you can see how she continues to inspire. Due to the trailblazer of Mercy Otis Warren, we now have women being prominently featured as lead anchors in the evening news, as journalists, as political analysts during our elections. So her legacy lives on. I would like to think that if there was no Mercy Otis Warren, that somebody else would have stepped up and filled her shoes. But if you look around, countless girls have been inspired to write and to realize the worth of the written word. And for that, we are thankful for Mercy Otis Warren.